Yus, Xavi listened, okay? I know you've been a little bit hesitant, as we all have, because of the Clasico loss, the Inter loss. We've been talking a bit about, could Xavi be stubborn? Was that the case at El Sad? Is he going to be rigid and just trying to force one way of play and a certain, preferred player base even through these bad times? But he listened today, okay? We got Frenkie De Jong as that CDM instead of Busquets today, and it was a performance I think we all applauded. And then up front, we saw the big change, right? Which is where, as we've said in the last few weeks, Dembele and Rafinha aren't working together. Even Dembele and Rafinha on their own are having a hard time. We saw, Ansu and Ferran Torres up front with Lewandowski, and a little bit of a lackluster second half that got, more quiet as Busquets came on, and then, we made some other changes to the team. But 3-0, a big 15 minutes going into that halftime. Lewandowski with 2, Fati with 1, Ferran Torres on a roll after his, Clasico goal. First goal in La Liga since the last Clasico. He seems to have picked up some confidence use. So let me hear your thoughts. I mean, you got to be happy, right?
Yeah, so, there's quite a few things to unpack here. Overall, like you said, the second half wasn't much to speak about, but I think I'm really happy with the fact that Xavi has decided to, utilize these different players, although we have to take into account that we have 2 important games coming up, one against our Athletic...
Big Ernie.
Yeah, Big Ernie and Athletic Bilbao, and then we have the Bayern game this coming Tuesday, I believe. So it is smart for him, and we've been saying this, we need to rotate players, rest players, and having Fati start, his first start in a while, I'm happy about that. Get his rusty legs going, and Ferran Torres, like you said, he now has 2 consecutive games played.
But dude, I don't think this is just a rotation thing.
No.
I have to think this is going to be the starting 11, right? I don't know how Xavi could see. And again, Villareal are a top 10 team in La Liga, but didn't play that well today. Unai Emery had them set up in a bad way. They had a few counters early that could have changed the course of the game, but they didn't.
Wait.
This has to be what Xavi's looking at for.
What do you mean by starting 11? This lineup today is our starting 11 permanently for the future?
I think he goes to Bayern Munich. Not permanently, but I think he goes to Bayern Munich with this 11, except probably switching out Alonso for Eric Garcia.
Okay.
You don't think so? You think this is a flash in the pan, one-time thing?
No, I don't think it's a one-time thing, but I do want to, you have to consider that Ferran Torres doesn't normally play on that right side. Now, Dembele, you're telling me Dembele is not going to play the starting 11 against Bayern Munich. That would be interesting to me, and I would not really expect Xavi to make that decision. But I also think that, having Ferran Torres up there on the right side was nice in this game. But as you just said, Villarreal is a team that did not perform very well, even though they kicked our butts at the Camp Nou that we saw live 2-0 last season at the very end. But, the question to me is, can these players that we saw today keep up the performance against bigger squads, right? Bayern Munich is going to be a test there. Now we also have to consider the midfield, right? We didn't have Busquets. We had Frenkie De Jong, which I want to say performed very well in today's game. But again, can that midfield, Frenkie, Pedri, Gavi, keep up that intensity and control, which we saw today, in a game against a bigger team? And does that also provide, is that the reason those wingers, Fati, Ferran, did so well today? Because
we had a midfield? I don't know. I think you're coming on a good point here, which is that part of the hesitation, right? Because today you go on Twitter, you go on social media, Frenkie De Jong as the pivot. It's a revelation, right? Yesterday you go on to it and you'll see, I hate Frenkie. Frenkie sucks. He can't be the pivot, right? And so that's just unfortunately the nature of sports fandom nowadays on social media. But Frenkie does have an issue so far playing as the pivot, is that he tends to dribble the ball from deep, which he did very well in this game, and he can sometimes put himself in positions where if he loses the ball, we're susceptible to a goal. I think that's what happened against either Rayo or Villarreal early on in the season. But he needs some time to perform in that role, right? And that's kind of what we need to experiment with. So do I think, Frenkie's going to come in and perform every game as a master, replacing Busquets, give us, offensive and defensive output that we need? No, I don't. He's got to get used to it. And then, next summer we're going to have the whole debate of whether or not you can pay him as much as we're going to pay him to be, the pivot and someone who's still learning on the job at that specific position. But the signs were good, man. I'm just very happy that Xavi made a reaction.
No.
Because
Yeah.
even you have talked about for years, and it's not just Xavi, Koeman, Valverde, there's been too much of a marriage to a certain starting 11,
Yeah.
and that just makes us predictable. It gives us it just lets the opponent just fully plan for what we're going to put out there, and at least now we're seeing some changes. You bring up a good point. Will Ferran Torres start? I don't know, right? Against Bayern Munich, I think Dembouz still offers more, but Dembele's had a rough time, right? He's not been good ever since the international break, basically. Rafinha has been even worse, and I think that they need a little bit to be put in their place, right? Hopefully none of them pull a Ronaldo and just leave the field early, as is going all around social media right now, but there's a few other interesting parts I want to unpack, right? I think one thing that has to be said, Koundé is just so good, right? He is just so solid on almost every aspect of being a center back, whether it's defensive, whether it's his ability to make passes and get the ball going forward. I think he made a last-second save in the game when Alonso had made a mistake. Don't want to see Alonso too much as our starting center back, but like you said, we have to rotate in these lesser games.
Yeah.
One of the other aspects that's going to make some people pissed off, Hughes.
I'm listening.
I mean, Jordi Alba offers a lot going forward, right? Like, as much as he's a big liability in tight games and how he's had all of these different, he's crying in the locker room at Anfield, he's having, a lot of bad games. I mean, when we put him out there, I feel like he really does provide an offensive outlet that Balde can't and Alonso definitely can't. And it does make you wonder a little bit, in the last few big games we've had, if we should have started Jordi Alba, right? And, I think our friend Jalil, the purist, has talked about how there is a certain comfortability and dynamism when you see kind of Jordi Alba and then, Ferran Torres or Fati and then Pedri on that side playing together. And I think Jordi Alba on that first goal, right, he gets a beautiful pass. He makes a run right on side, gets the pass from Pedri, and then crosses it in and lets Lewandowski score. And so, that's up for debate. I mean, how do you feel about it? Like, do you think Jordi Alba offers enough offensively to overcome the problems he's, well known for? Or do you think Balde is the guy we should be starting all the time?
I honestly am very torn on this because we've had so many discussions about Jordi Alba in the position and how many times have we seen him get burned or against a team who is very much more offensively aggressive, much faster, much more accurate in their passing, all these aspects. We've seen him get burned, and we've seen him kind of fall off during the game and not keep so much intensity. Now, the other point in the bad side of Jordi Alba is that, or having him being played consistently and in big games, is we don't give Balde that opportunity to grow and make his mistakes and get better in his position, because Jordi Alba's not going to be here for too much longer. So that's all the negative. Actually, one more thing. The defense in Barca's game today was really not that important, right? We were much more offensively minded because we had 70% of the possession. We were able to create a lot more and push the ball forward. Now, the negatives the positives for Jordi Alba are that he's much better at crossing the ball, which is great service to Lewandowski. He has better connections with that mid left side, the midfield left side, so like Pedri and stuff. So, and as you said, that goal today to Lewandowski, and I think he just has much more experience. So those are all great things, but at the end of the day, if we're going to be playing Jordi Alba in these bigger games, I think we're just going to lose that growth in Balde and maybe even Alonso if we end up playing him in La Liga at all, because we've only seen him in the Champions League or in La Liga as a center back. So it's I think in the long run, playing Jordi Alba is not the best, but in short term, if he can put out a good effort and win us a La Liga title, that's great. But I'm looking a little bit more long-term, so I would...
As we have to, right?
Yeah.
Because we're in a bad spot. We're very happy now that this game went well, but, we got a tough game against big ol' Ernie coming up this weekend. And then, like you said, we have Bayern Munich next week. There's an interesting dynamic where I believe Inter and Pleasant are going to play earlier in the morning. And so we'll already know, actually, by the time we play Bayern Munich, whether or not we're out or if we still have a fighting chance to go in. Yeah, I know. I think other things you have to cover, right? We've spoken a bit about Ferran Torres already. Ansu Fati, got to start in this game. We've been talking about for a while, like, is Fati still hurt, or why is Xavi not starting him? Well, he got a lot of time. He was subbed out early, but he, of course, scored the goal off of a great Ferran Torres run to make it 3-0 just before halftime. He's looking a little bit selfish, to be honest, with some of his balls when he's getting shots in when I think he could pass it. But overall, it's very, very comforting to see Ansu Fati get back to his old form in a little bit of ways, right? He's still not there in that dynamic forward who can score, at least once a game, but he's shown improvement, which is all we need to see, hoping he'll gain confidence going into the World Cup.
Yeah, and my final point that I want to mention is Lewandowski just constantly is a goal-scoring machine. He doesn't always have to have service in the box, but when he does, it's pretty nice because it's a high percentage chance that the man is going to score. But as we saw today on the second goal, he was able to find that open space at the top left side of the box and just score that curler in, and I hope to see more of that, right? Villarreal defense wasn't so great there to cover him and shut him down, but, you take advantage, and I think Inter Milan had a similar goal against us, and the capability is there. It's just someone that we can rely on constantly. Even when he's quiet, he's putting in a defensive workload. I know we did say that.
Kind of. I mean,
it does.
I don't know if I totally buy that. I think he's an interesting player because, when Lewandowski is given service, he's going to score, right? Mm-hmm. The only time he didn't was that unfortunate Bayern Munich game where we really needed him to score. But when he's not given the ball and not given service, then, he can't really score that often. And even though we have been, and saying this since the preseason, the part of Lewandowski's game that we appreciate the most is his link-up play, his ability to come back and play 1-2s with, Pedri and Fati. But yeah, he's just world class, right? He's just able to find the back of the net. We just need to figure out against these bigger teams in La Liga or in the Champions League or the Europa League how to get him the ball, when people have 5 men sitting back. And I think Frenkie De Jong, the midfield, is going to really help that. I believe without having that fear that Bussi is not going to be able to foul Toni Kroos like in the Clásico, or that Busquets is going to be a liability. With having Frenkie there, hopefully that'll give us a little bit more confidence going forward, and we'll see success, and we'll see ourselves able to get Lewandowski the ball in big matches. I think on my end, the only negative I have to say about this game, we really need to get Pedri some rest, right? The subs, putting in Bussi for Frenkie, and then, I don't think we got Pablo Torre anytime. We still haven't given him time this season. We didn't see Kessié come in. So that's my main complaint about the game, because, we need Pedri against Bayern Munich, and we probably need him against Bilbao, who have been having a good season, slow down a little bit, but still a top 10 La Liga team. So, yeah, Xavi, he listened, right? And that's all I want to see. I think the big thing that we were really upset with Koeman as his reign came to an end is we were upset to see progress stall, right? Mm-hmm. We're okay being in a rebuild, losing the greatest player of all time, Copa America champion Lionel Messi. We're okay after that, understanding that, hey, we're going to be rebuilding. We got a lot of very young players. We need to slowly get improvement. And we hated Koeman when he wasn't improving. And then this season, the last few games, it's been a little bit too much of this October from hell really being from hell. And so seeing Xavi take a stark move, try out a different midfield and a front three, hopefully we'll beget more and more of that improvement over time.
Well, we don't have much time to find out. It's already October 20th, so this October from hell is going to end real shortly, and then we go into the international break for the World Cup. So,
let's go, Messi.
Yeah, exactly. But I just hope we can finish this last 2-3 weeks out strong, able to stay at the top of the table there, keeping it up with Real Madrid, because obviously they've beaten us. And they just beat Elche very easily. I don't know if we're going to be able to recover that first place spot before this international break, but let's hear it for Xavi for actually listening to the Barca Breakdown, watching our videos, of course, and keeping it real with the 3-0 victory.
Smash that subscribe button. Thank you all so much. Have a nice week. We'll see you when Uncle Don Ernie comes back.
Thanks, guys.